Good afternoon, my name is Camden and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. I filmed a video like this last year. I had a lot of fun doing it because I love reading Greek mythology retellings and there are a million of them. So the video that you're about to watch is part 2. In this video, I will be reading Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes as well as Electra by Jennifer Saint. And I did start but not finish Atalanta by Jennifer Saint as well. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on any of those books, keep on watching. But for now, we're gonna start with a little field trip to the Boston Aquarium. Hope you enjoy. Hello, I'm here to give you a reading update. It has been about 10 days since the last time that I updated this vlog, so it is well overdue, but the reason is not because I forgot about you or not because I haven't read anything. It's actually because I've been super sick. I actually ended up getting strep a couple of days after we got back from Boston, and I completely lost my voice. My throat was killing me and I had a raging fever for like 4 days straight. So I had it pretty bad, but I'm doing a lot better now. You can still probably hear the sickness in my voice and I'm still very congested, but overall doing way better than I was. I called out sick a few times last week, so I actually ended up getting quite a bit of reading done. I am now approximately a little over halfway through Electra by Jennifer Saint. I'm actually enjoying this one even more than I enjoyed Ariadne by this author. I'm liking the variety and perspectives in here. We are following Electra, who is the youngest daughter of King Agamemnon. We're following Clytemnestra, who is Agamemnon's wife, and we're also following Cassandra, who is a princess of Troy. And all of these perspectives are kind of in and about surrounding the Trojan War. So definitely a storyline I've read in the past. If you enjoyed Silence of the Girls, this is definitely touching on all of those characters. Also, House of Flames, is that what it's called? There's quite a few different books that kind of center around these particular characters and the events of the Trojan War, so this might not be anything new that you have not read. I'm particularly enjoying Clytemnestra's perspective in this one. Her story is one that's really tragic, and something that I did not realize before reading this book is that she is the twin sister of Helen of Troy. I don't know if I knew that prior to reading this book, or maybe if it's something that I forgot. She obviously has pretty worrying emotions because her husband is in the war. Her sister is the cause of the war. There are things going on with her children that further tear her apart, and she's just experiencing such a lot of tragedy. The first couple of chapters from her perspective really kind of detail her mindset going into the marriage that she has with Agamemnon. She knows things about his family's history, things that they have done. There's a lot of familial killing in his family, fathers who have killed their children, children who have killed their fathers, and there are rumors that his family is cursed, and she's very dismissive of this at first and thinks like this is all just rumors or the curse is played out, but he's broken this kind of generational trauma, and kind of naively thinks that everything from here on out is going to be peachy keen. But her perspectives obviously change drastically over the course of this book. I'm not going to spoil any of the larger events in here in case you're not super familiar with the stories around the Trojan War, but suffice it to say there is a betrayal right before Agamemnon leaves for war, and it completely changes Clytemnestra's perspective on him and rocks their whole marriage. And now she's basically just waiting to get her revenge on him, waiting for this 10-year-long war to be over so she can take her revenge. Cassandra as a character is super interesting as well. She's the only perspective we have from the Trojan side, and she's also the only one who's like directly caught up in the violence that is happening in this war because her city is under siege. She receives visions and prophecies from the god Apollo, but unfortunately her family doesn't really believe her and they think that she is crazy because the way that she receives visions is a lot more direct than any kind of prophetess they've known previously. So they really think that she's making everything up, and I enjoy her perspective second best. I find it interesting that Electra's perspective is my least favorite, and that it is kind of the namesake of the book because I don't feel that she is particularly more important than any other character in here, and I don't know if that's going to shift as the book continues. She's not my least favorite because I don't like her as a character. I do think she's quite naive and black and white in her view of things, but she's also the youngest character in here, and I feel like that makes sense to me, that she would see things as one way or another and not really with much nuance yet. If that continues, like as she grows into adulthood, I may start to find her more annoying, but right now she's like a young teenager and she is upset with her mother because her mother is not really respectful of her father, and Electra is definitely a daddy's girl. I'd definitely like to see some more character growth from her in particular as the book continues, and see her start to view her father in a more nuanced way and hopefully kind of come to realize the villain that he is in this story. But I'm interested to see how things will play out. I'm interested to see if Electra pulls ahead as more of a main character than the others, because right now I'm not really sure why she is the title of the book. The other book that I'm reading is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. I am just about 35 or 40% of the way through this one right now. I'm listening to it on audiobook, and I'm enjoying the narration for sure. This is the first Natalie Haynes book that I've ever read. I know she's written others, particularly A Thousand Ships by her is a really popular Greek mythology retelling that a lot of people have read and loved, but I have not gotten a chance to read it yet. It's another retelling of the Trojan War, so I'm not sure that I will, at least not for a while, because I feel like that storyline is a little bit played out in Greek mythology retellings, but we'll see. I can't speak to whether this is all of Natalie Haynes' writing or not, but the writing in this book is very witty, for lack of a better word. I feel like there's definitely an intention of being funny, of being very candid and direct in the way that she writes the characters. All of them seem to just speak their mind and speak it in a way that's a bit amusing. It's kind of got like a little bit of like British humor, I would say. A bit dry, a little bit clever. I'm definitely enjoying it. I feel like I expected the story to be a lot more Medusa focused than it is. It really seems to be all of the perspectives surrounding this one story of Perseus defeating Medusa, how Medusa came to be, how Athena got involved in all of this, how the Gorgons and the Graiai come into play, who Andromeda is. So we have a lot of different perspectives in this one, and this book is covering many, many years, it seems. Honestly, too many perspectives to even count in this book. We've gotten chapters from Medusa's perspective, chapters from Perseus's perspective, chapters from Danae, his mother, Zeus, Athena, Andromeda, Cassiopeia, a lot of different perspectives. I think possibly my favorite part about this book, besides maybe the writing, is how she writes the gods being so capricious. I think we all have an understanding that the Greek gods are not role models, they're not good people. But I feel like Natalie Haynes is really capturing just how impulsive they are and how their decisions are not done with a ton of forethought or these like master plans in advance. Like it's just like whims, like them acting on their whims and, like I said, like being capricious. And I really appreciate that because I feel like the actions of the gods don't speak to a lot of forethought in some of these myths, so it makes more sense for them to be cruel in a oblivious way than like cruel in a planned out way. So I think this is definitely my favorite representation of the Greek gods themselves, so far at least. Honestly, Greek mythology and Greek mythology retellings are not for the faint of heart, and I would definitely recommend that you check all trigger warnings if you feel like you may be sensitive to certain types of violent content on both of these books, but particularly Stone Blind, because I feel like there's more on page description then with Electra. But if you plan on reading either of these and you think you may be sensitive to some topics, I would definitely check the trigger warnings for sure. Anyway, that is the reading update. I'm hoping by the next time I check in, I will be finished one or both of these and we can continue on with Atalanta. But for now, me and Ali are gonna go to the botanical gardens on the coast and also to the beach because today is my birthday weekend. So that is gonna be fun and I will of course take you along with me and I'll see you in a little while. It's not gonna stay. Didn't really work. Hello, I am here to give you my final reading updates for both Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes and Electra by Jennifer Saint. I feel like my midway update pretty much sums up my final thoughts on both of these books. My opinions didn't really change too drastically from the last time I updated you until now as I've finished both of the books. So I'm probably gonna keep this update fairly short and maybe just sum everything up with like a little pros and cons list. For Stoneblind, I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. For the pro side, I really enjoyed the writing of this one. I liked the kind of humor that was injected into the personalities of everyone. I liked how the gods were represented in this one. I felt like it had an appropriate amount of callousness and cruelness and obliviousness and just spite to how I picture the Greek gods behaving. I also really enjoyed like the very final couple of pages where we had like a where are they now kind of explanation and found out where Athene and Medusa are. For the con side, I would definitely say that this book had too many perspectives going on. I feel like once you've reached a point where the olive trees and Medusa's head have their own voice in the story, you've maybe gone a bit too far. So I feel like I could have definitely done without some of the POVs that we had in this book. The olive trees did not need like 3 chapters of their own. I also felt like this book suffered from what I think of as like the Marvel complex, where all characters in the story kind of had a similar tone, a way of speaking, a personality, and a sense of humor. And there was not a lot of distinction between each character's personality. And as kind of like a beige flag or something that I felt pretty neutral about or had mixed feelings about, I feel like this story really rewrote everything that I ever knew about Medusa and kind of made her a complete innocent victim in the story of Perseus. And I did like that approach. I thought it was really interesting, and to kind of have the whole story rewritten so that Medusa was completely innocent in everything. She never wanted to harm anyone at all. I thought that was really cool, but I think it leaves a lot of room for someone else to come in and write another Greek mythology retelling on the story of Medusa to kind of explain how she may have gone from being like a harmless person to being a Gorgon who killed people and was somewhat of a villain, or a morally gray character at least in her own story. Instead of taking that approach, Natalie Haynes definitely took the approach of, you've just heard the story wrong your whole life. They tried to paint her this way and that's not who she is, and she was a perfect angel who never did a single thing wrong. So I definitely feel like there's room for someone else to come in and explain maybe how Medusa went from being a harmless creature to someone who had a lot of feminine rage and wanted to kill men, or something along those lines. As for Electra, I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5. I wouldn't say it's like a perfect book, but I definitely enjoyed it from cover to cover and have a lot of positive things to say about it. I would recommend it broadly to a lot of people, but I would not say that it was like completely without fault. In the end, I never figured out why the book is named after Electra, and I would love to have that question answered, because I feel like the other two characters played just as much of a role in the story as Electra did, particularly Clytemnestra. I feel like her and Electra shared the most page time in this one. All of these characters are connected by their relationships to Agamemnon, and I feel like maybe naming it something along those lines would have been a little more fitting or appropriate. Pros for this book: there was never a dull moment for me. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I also really enjoyed how tragic the tragedy in this one was. I really felt sympathy for every single character in this book. Really, the only con in this book for me was that I felt like Electra's character was a little underdeveloped, especially given the fact that she's like the title character. I felt like we could have explored more of why she was on her father's side so strongly, and more of how it made her feel that her mother was not present in her life after the events of this book transpired. And I feel like we could have delved a lot more into every character, but particularly Electra. Overall though, I really like this one. This is probably one of my favorite Greek mythology retellings I've ever read, so high up on the list. And all that remains is reading Atalanta. I have to say, I don't think I'm going to finish this one by the end of this video, but I'm gonna give it my best shot to get as far as I can. I'm about 20 pages in so far, so not far at all. And this vlog is kind of wrapping up soon, but I'm gonna give this my best go over the next couple of days, and then I'll update you on where I am from there. And with that, we are back up to present day, where I only got 40 pages into Atalanta. I did have hopes to get to like page 100 before closing out this vlog, but that just did not happen this week. So I made it to page 40. I'm really enjoying this one so far. Still hoping it's gonna be a 5-star read, because this is one of my 5-star predictions for the year. So far, we've just followed Atalanta as she is growing up, as she's being kind of raised by both bears and nymphs. Not a lot has happened, but really enjoying it so far, and I'm really looking forward to finishing this one. I'll definitely have it finished by the end of May, so hopefully you'll see my final thoughts in my May reading journal wrap-up. All of that being said, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching it. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope if you're new here that you'll choose to stick around, because I am almost at 200 subscribers already, which is crazy because I feel like I just celebrated 100 subscribers not that long ago. If you'd like to see me keep growing this channel, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe, send it to a friend who loves reading as much as we do, and I will see you all in a new video next week. Goodbye.